Postseason baseball is back in the D. Excited?
Just like we drew it up, boys.
Very.
Just like we drew it up, Ken says. Were you saying that for the last home series at Comerica Park in the regular season?
Exactly. Yes.
The road here was winding, but we're here.
We're here.
It was winding. It was like underground, like around a
couple
mountain.
detours.
Yeah.
Construction barrels, lots of
Took the
construction
back roads
barrels.
for sure.
But when the Tigers played that last home series, what was that, against the Braves? And their playoff hopes were kind of
Done.
bobbling like that? You said done?
Done. At that point.
So you had like no expectations for more baseball here.
The next day, before the Guardian series, I did say I think they'd still make it, but I was not confident.
Yeah.
And I was definitely not confident.
The thing that we're not really talking about, the Tigers did need a collapse from the Astros to get in. But
Yeah.
honestly, the nice thing about the MLB postseason, none of that matters. Like, they're here and they're on an even playing field with everybody else.
Looking at what they did in that wild card series, yes, they lost the division to Cleveland, but then they come and take 2 of 3 games from them. Did that prove anything to you, that this team really did hit the proverbial reset button?
I think they vanquished a lot of demons because specifically it was the team that did that to them that came back. But to me, I honestly came out of that series with more concerns looking forward than I even did like going into it, because your hope was, okay, playoff start, clean slate, offense looks good, pitching looks good, and a lot of those warts resurfaced.
Yeah, I mostly took from it that it must suck to be a Guardians fan, man. After that run at the end of the season to then collapse in the first round of the playoffs, that's pretty brutal. So, but I mean, I think the one thing that we've seen so far through 5 games of playoff baseball is that the pitching is pretty good. At least the starting pitching has been very good. That was one of the huge concerns coming in, and I think that probably isn't the concern you need to worry about at this point. And they just got to hit. Yeah. They really just got to figure out how to hit.
What'd you say about watching games 1 and 2 of the series in the ALDS?
I mean, it's got to be some of the worst viewing experience for a good Detroit team in a long time that I can ever remember.
Are they a good Detroit team?
And I mean, like the pitching is obviously fantastic, and they're doing their job. The starting to the bullpen, like everybody's doing their job for the most part. And the bats just can't get going. And it's just brutal to watch strikeout after strikeout after pop-out after pop-out. And you're just waiting for somebody to make that play. And they've done it. They've been making that one big play a game to keep them in or win the game or whatever. But it's just they're hanging on by a thread, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to do it.
Coming back home for these 2 games in the ALDS, we said this last week, and I'm going to say it again. All it takes is one swing to break a team out of this funk. We saw it with Dylan Dingler in Game 3 of the Wild Card Series. He hits a home run. The very next inning, the Tigers get their first 3 big hits of the entire series. So I think it's so important that the Tigers get off to a good start in Game 3 because, you know, Jack Flaherty is starting. He looked great in Cleveland, but you never know what you're going to get from that guy. He can go shut out one game and then 8 runs the next. So if the Tigers could get up early and put a little bit of game pressure on him, I think that can make all the difference.
Especially against this Seattle offense that can go off at any time. You know how crazy it is that we see somebody hit 60 home runs in a season in this era of baseball? That's crazy to see what Cal Raleigh has done.
Yeah.
But how much confidence do you have in those starters, Jack Flaherty, Casey Mize? Because first 2 games, Seattle was held to 5 runs in 2 games. Does that give you any
The last
pause?
time Cal Raleigh was in Comerica Park, I think he hit like 5 home runs or something. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, again, if this pitching continues, they have a chance. And they gave themselves a chance this weekend. The bullpen game went really well for them. That was a huge win. And then kind of a huge letdown to not win a school start because you should be coming back up 2-0 at this point. And did you think you were going to come back 1-1? You just thought it'd be reverse games? That's probably was pretty accurate. So you kind of are where you thought you'd be at this point. But you did have a huge missed opportunity yesterday, on Sunday, not in Game 2.
That being said, with 2 games coming back to Detroit for an ALDS, they had a chance last year against Cleveland. Does it feel like they need to win these 2 games to have a chance to advance to the ALCS.
It's really nice to have Tarek Skubal sitting there for Game 5, but those Skubal starts have not been
It's
auto
not a
wins.
guaranteed win. That's a lot of
right.
pressure to put on one person. We were saying that last season.
Yeah, those last 2 Cleveland games in the regular season, and then obviously in the wild card or the first game against Seattle, Skubal looked great. He pitches really well, but the Tigers aren't able to capitalize.
some support.
Exactly, and that's why I think even if you feel really good about Mize and Flaherty in these 2 games, it's difficult to say I have confidence in them because what does that mean? Do I have confidence in them to go 7 shutout? No, even though I know that's what it might take. So I think both of those guys are going to keep the Tigers in the game. It's just this offense has reached such an extreme level of like ineptitude at this point that we need to see it. And hopefully that Comerica Park atmosphere is what can spark them. Coming back home for the first time since 2 weeks ago when things were really bad, if that could just light a little bit of a fire, I think the Tigers could win this series in 4.
Yeah, their goal has got to be to not go back to Seattle. Yeah, that's hands down.
It's not a realistic expectation to expect your pitcher to not allow any runs ever.
Yeah,
Ever.
Right?
Yeah.
And so like every time that like 1 run allowed seems like a mountain for that Tigers offense. Like they got so lucky yesterday with those 2 runs and that where Torque hit that ball.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the perfect place to hit that ball.
Look at game 1 with McKinstry's hit.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the perfect
Right up the
placement.
middle.
That was the perfect placement.
But you can't. I mean, you just can't play like that. It's not going to end well eventually.
They have to stop leaving guys on base. The number of runners left on base in the last couple of weeks has just been, and specifically in the playoffs, has been really bad.
What you guys were saying though is the Tigers have struck out in so many big spots. If you put the ball in play, you give yourself a chance.
Yeah, but then,
And the first 2 games in Seattle were a perfect representation of that. I mean, Torque, like you said, he got jammed a little bit, but you put the ball in play, you hit it hard, you've got a shot. And then what happened immediately after that? He's the go-ahead run on second base, strikeout. Tigers don't score. Very next inning, Mariners take the lead right back. The Tigers didn't even give them time to feel the pressure of, oh my God, we could be a run away from going down 2-0.
Hey.
So they need to capitalize on those scoring chances. And I don't think we're blowing any minds here by saying that. It's pretty glaringly
Well,
obvious.
AJ Hinch said it after the wild card series. He was like, "Well, we have to have one thing lead to another one if we're going to win games."
Yeah.
And until they do that, I mean, it's kind of up in the air to see what they do in games 3 and games 4. Looking ahead, though, a lot of baseball to play in this series specifically. But if they don't make it to the ALCS, how do you view this season?
I want to hear you guys first.
I mean, I think it's a disappointment for sure. I mean, I think with the year that they had, sans September, they should be a team that competing for the American League pennant. And if they're not even competing for it, I think it's a disappointment for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it maybe even has more to do with just the collapse at this point. I won't forget about the collapse unless they go to the World Series, I think, or maybe even win this series and show up in the the AL Championship. If they don't do that, then I think this collapse is what you think about no matter what.
I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach. Preseason, I was looking at the Tigers and I was saying, I think they can be around a high 80s win team that can get into the playoffs. And then anything can happen. And it's very difficult to put myself back in that mindset because the Tigers spent 5 months as like the best team in the American League. But when I look at this roster, I don't think that this roster is as good as Seattle's or as Toronto's or as the Yankees.
Nope.
I look at all
No way.
8 teams that are left in the playoffs, and to me, the Tigers are clearly the worst.
Yeah.
It's Tarek Skubal, and then it's piecemeal in a lot of ways.
Yep.
So the way that the Tigers didn't go all in, I think that making the ALDS and giving yourself a legitimate shot to advance to the ALCS is good enough for me.
Doing what you did with what you got.
Because I think the Tigers' strategy was going to be to keep being here and get enough bites at the apple that eventually it does work out. And so the fact that the Tigers did not go all in and still got to this point, I think, to me, I'm going to look at that as encouraging. Even though they missed some opportunities, they're not going to hang a division banner, they didn't get a bye, I still think based on their talent level, they didn't underachieve.
This series, though, tied up 1-1, should be interesting to see what happens at Comerica Park this week. Still much more to come on DSP, diving into some college football as Michigan goes out west to take on USC. We'll discuss that coming up.